I've been singing all of my life. My whole family, we grew up in the church singing, but I've been singing professionally for over 40 years now. Just having a relationship with the Lord and making sure He's first no matter what you're doing. It's all about friendship. Count on me.
CeCe Winans has shocked fans with deeply personal revelations about the Winans family, pulling back the curtain on one of gospel music's most celebrated dynasties. Known for their powerful harmonies and deep-rooted faith, the Winans family has long been admired for their contributions to gospel music. But beneath the success lies a series of struggles, health battles, and heartbreaking moments that many never saw coming. Now, CeCe is finally opening up about the untold truths that have shaped her family's journey. What has she revealed? Stay tuned to find out. Who are the Winans? If you've ever listened to gospel music, you know the Winans family is basically royalty. Seriously, they don't just sing gospel, they own it. Think of them as the Jacksons of gospel music, but with fewer scandals and a whole lot more church services. The Winans legacy started with Mom and Pop Winans, Dolores and David Winans Sr., who raised 10 kids, most of whom could sing like they had a direct line to heaven. Their musical dynasty officially took off in the 1980s when 4 of the brothers, Marvin, Carvin, Michael, and Ronald, formed the Winans. These guys weren't just singing hymns. They brought smooth R&B-infused gospel that made waves far beyond the church pews. Then, of course, there's BeBe and CeCe Winans, the brother-sister duo who took things even further, blending gospel with contemporary R&B in a way that made the entire music industry take notice. Their hits like Addictive Love and Lost Without You weren't just church favorites. They were mainstream moments. Even people who couldn't tell you the difference between Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were humming along. Despite some side-eye from the gospel purists, BeBe and CeCe never let the criticism shake them. "God didn't call me to impress people," BeBe once said. "He called me to reach people." And reach them, they did. Even today, the Winans name carries weight. Marvin Winans is a respected pastor and still performs. The next generation, including Juan Winans and Deborah Joy Winans, keeps the legacy alive. And let's not forget Mario Winans, who took a little detour into R&B and worked with Diddy and Beyonce. Talk about range. As Marvin once said, "This isn't just about music. This is about a message. And with a Grammy-studded family tree, that message isn't fading anytime soon." Now let's talk about CeCe Winans. Because if gospel had a queen, she'd be sitting on the throne with a choir behind her. Born Priscilla Marie Winans. But let's be real, nobody calls her that. She started her career alongside BeBe, and together they changed gospel music forever. BeBe and CeCe weren't just another gospel duo, they were the #1 gospel duo. Their songs had that perfect mix of soul, R&B, and faith, which meant even people who didn't regularly listen to gospel couldn't resist. Their breakout hit Heaven wasn't just a song, it was a movement. It proved that gospel music could reach the mainstream without losing its message. But CeCe wasn't done. She launched a solo career that took her to another level entirely. We're talking 12 Grammy Awards, 23 Dove Awards, countless Stellar Awards, and millions of albums sold. Her voice, effortless, her stage presence, unmatched, her message, always pointing back to faith. Despite all the success, CeCe has remained incredibly grounded. She once said, "I don't want to be famous, I just want to be effective." And effective is exactly what she is. Whether she's leading worship, writing books, or pastoring at Nashville Life Church, which she co-founded with her husband, Alvin Love II, CeCe's impact goes beyond music. And let's talk about Whitney Houston for a second. Because when Whitney Houston personally asks you to sing at her funeral, you know you're a legend. CeCe and Whitney were like sisters, and when CeCe sang "Don't Cry for Me" at Whitney's memorial, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. "Whitney was my best friend," CeCe once said. "We talked about everything. It wasn't just about music, it was about life, love, and faith." She's been in the industry for over 4 decades and still hasn't missed a beat. From classic gospel hits to her more recent worship albums, CeCe continues to inspire. proving that talent is temporary, but purpose lasts forever. And if you really want to know how much of a legend she is, just look at her 2021 album Believe for It. The woman is still out here winning Grammys like it's the 90s, showing that when you're walking in your purpose, there's no expiration date. Whether she's on stage, in the studio, or behind the pulpit, CeCe Winans remains untouchable. Marvin Winans' health challenges. There's one thing Marvin Winans is known for, besides that unmistakable voice and soul-stirring sermons. It's his resilience. The man has been a pillar in gospel music and ministry for decades, but even the strongest warriors face battles. And Marvin has certainly had his share. In recent years, concerns about his health have grown. Fans were shocked when reports surfaced that the gospel legend collapsed unexpectedly. Details were scarce, but the news sent waves of worry through those who have followed his career and ministry. Now, if you know anything about Marvin, you know he's a man of unshakable faith. Even in the toughest moments, he keeps his eyes on God. As he once said, "When you're called to do something, nothing can stop you, not even sickness." But that doesn't mean he hasn't had to slow down. For years, Marvin has been open about dealing with various health issues. But one of the biggest concerns surrounding him has been the cancer rumors. While he hasn't publicly confirmed a diagnosis, whispers about his health struggles have persisted. Some close to the Winans family have hinted that he's been dealing with serious medical challenges, though they've kept details private. What fans do know is that Marvin has stepped back from public appearances more often than usual. Given how much he loves preaching and singing, every time he takes a break, people start asking questions. The gospel world isn't used to seeing Marvin sit out for long, and his absence has only fueled speculation. But despite whatever challenges he's facing, Marvin refuses to let his faith waver. He still shows up when he can, delivering messages of perseverance and trust in God's plan. In one sermon, he reminded his congregation, "The enemy may attack, but God always has the final say." That's classic Marvin, never letting fear have the last word. And if you're wondering just how much love and support Marvin has, just look at the Winans family circle. This isn't just a family by name, it's a tight-knit unit. CeCe, BeBe, and the rest of the siblings have been by Marvin's side, offering prayers, encouragement, and a reminder that he's never alone in this fight. "Marvin has always been the strong one," BeBe once said. "Now it's our turn to be strong for him." Marvin's health challenges haven't just affected his music career, they've also impacted his role as a pastor. As the leader of Perfecting Church in Detroit, he's spent years building a ministry that reaches thousands. Even as he's taken a step back, his congregation remains devoted, sending prayers and standing in faith for his healing. Of course, this situation has also sparked concern about what's next. Will Marvin return to the stage full-time? Will he continue pastoring at the same level? Right now, there are more questions than answers, but if history tells us anything, it's that Marvin Winans isn't going anywhere without a fight. Faith has always been his anchor, and even in the toughest storms he holds on. As he once said, "The race isn't given to the swift, nor to the strong, but to the one who endures." And if there's one thing Marvin knows how to do, it's endure. His fans continue to send prayers, believing that whatever he's battling, he'll overcome it. Because if anyone can, it's Marvin Winans. And if he has anything to say about it, he's far from finished. The Winans brother who passed away. The Winans family has always been known for their tight bond, but they've also had their share of heartbreak. One of the biggest losses they faced was the passing of Ronald Winans in 2007. Ronald wasn't just Marvin's brother. He was an integral part of the legendary gospel group The Winans, known for hits like Tomorrow and Ain't No Need to Worry. His voice, his presence, and his faith were undeniable. But Ronald's health had been a concern for years. Back in 2002, he faced a terrifying medical emergency when he suffered a massive heart attack that left him in critical condition. For a moment, it seemed like the world was about to lose him. His heart actually stopped, and he had to be resuscitated. It was a miracle that he pulled through, and for the next few years, he continued doing what he loved, singing, ministering, and inspiring others. Sadly, in 2007, Ronald's battle with health issues came to an end. He passed away at the age of 48 due to complications from heart disease. His death was a devastating blow to the family, the gospel world, and all the fans who had been touched by his music and ministry. Losing Ronald was not easy, but if there's one thing about the Winans, it's that their faith keeps them going. The family came together to honor his legacy, leaning on each other for support. His homegoing service was a powerful moment, filled with tears, music, and heartfelt tributes from those who loved him most. Marvin, who was already dealing with his own health challenges, found strength in knowing that Ronald had lived a life devoted to God. CeCe Winans, who was particularly close to Ronald, once spoke about how much he meant to her, saying, "He had a heart for people. He was always about making sure others were okay." Even after his passing, Ronald's presence was still felt in the family. The Winans kept his memory alive through music, storytelling, and the way they carried on the family's gospel legacy. BeBe and CeCe continued to release music. Marvin kept preaching and singing, and the younger generation of Winans, including Juan and Deborah Joy Winans, stepped up to carry the torch. Ronald's passing reminded the family just how precious life is, and they've only grown closer since then. Through loss, health battles, and personal struggles, the Winans have shown that their faith is not just something they sing about, it's what keeps them standing. Even though Ronald is no longer here, his influence remains. His music still touches lives, his words still inspire, and his family still honors him in everything they do. Fans continue to celebrate his legacy, and every time a Winans song plays, it's a reminder that his voice, spirit, and faith live on. His passing also brought a renewed focus on health awareness within the Winans family. They've encouraged each other and their fans to take care of their hearts, both physically and spiritually. As BeBe Winans once said, "Life is a gift. Every day we have another chance to love, to serve, and to give God praise." The Winans have faced loss, but their mission remains the same, spreading hope, love, and faith through music. And in that mission, Ronald's presence is felt every step of the way. Pop Winans Passing. If there's one thing about David "Pop" Winans Sr., it's that he wasn't just the father of a gospel dynasty, he was the foundation. The man was like a walking sermon, always dropping wisdom, whether you were ready for it or not. And let's be real, when you raise 10 kids, including some of the biggest names in gospel, you have to be a strong, faith-filled leader. Pop and Dolores Mom Winans didn't just raise singers, they raised believers. He made sure his kids understood that their gifts weren't about fame or fortune. "If God gives you a gift, you use it to bring him glory, nothing else," he once said. And judging by how his children have carried on his mission, they definitely got the message loud and clear. But even the strongest pillars face challenges. In his later years, Pop struggled with health issues, including heart problems and a stroke. Still, he remained a source of strength, encouraging his children, his church, and everyone around him. But in April 2009, at the age of 74, Pop Winans passed away, leaving behind a family and a gospel community who loved him dearly. Losing him was devastating for the Winans family. Just a year earlier, they had buried Ronald Winans, and now they had to say goodbye to their father. But if there was one thing Pop had taught them, it was how to trust God in everything. After Pop passed, the Winans family had two choices: let grief break them or keep his legacy alive. And if you know anything about this family, you know they chose the second option. Pop's influence wasn't just in his music. It was in the values he instilled in his children. His impact could be seen in the way his kids continued to spread the gospel, through music, ministry, and even how they lived their lives. Take CeCe Winans, for example. She has spoken countless times about how much her parents shaped her faith. "I stand on the prayers of my parents. They taught us how to trust God in everything," she once shared. And if you've ever listened to her music, you know that faith runs deep. Marvin Winans also continued his father's mission, leading, perfecting church, and using his sermons to inspire others. His preaching style, much like his father's, is bold, unapologetic, and full of truth. And let's not forget BeBe Winans, who has carried on the family's tradition of using music to uplift and inspire. Through albums, books, and even stage plays, BeBe has kept the message of faith and perseverance alive. Even though Pop Winans is no longer here physically, his presence is still felt in every aspect of the Winans family's work. Whether it's through a song, a sermon, or even just the way they love and support each other, his spirit remains very much alive. Pop's funeral was nothing short of a celebration. Of course, there were tears, but there was also music. Because honestly, how else do you honor a man who dedicated his life to gospel? The service brought together family, friends, and fellow gospel artists who wanted to pay their respects to a man who had given so much to the world. One of the most emotional moments came when Mom Winans spoke about her husband. Even through her grief, she reminded everyone that Pop had lived a full life, dedicated to God and his family. And that, more than anything, was his greatest legacy. Pop Winans may be gone, but his lessons, his faith, and his impact will never fade. His children, and now his grandchildren, continue to carry the torch, making sure his message of faith and perseverance lives on. Even today, whether it's through music, ministry, or simply the way they live, the Winans family is proof that Pop's influence is still going strong. The Winans family rift. The Winans family is gospel royalty, no doubt about it. But even in the most blessed families, drama has a way of creeping in. BeBe and CeCe Winans took gospel to new heights, blending it with R&B in a way that had fans singing their praises. But behind the scenes, let's just say things weren't always as harmonious as their music. Eventually, the pressure, expectations, and a little family tension led to BeBe and CeCe parting ways. So, what really went down? Let's talk about it. When it comes to gospel music, the Winans name carries weight. From the legendary quartet, Marvin, Carvin, Michael, and Ronald Winans, to later generations like Mario Winans, this family has been running the gospel scene for decades. But like any big family, the mix of talent, ambition, and different personalities made for some interesting dynamics. And by interesting, we mean drama, of course. Now, BeBe and CeCe were different from the rest of the Winans crew. While their brothers stuck to a more traditional gospel sound, these two decided to shake things up. Their music had a smooth, contemporary vibe that appealed to both churchgoers and R&B fans. Hits like Addictive Love and Lost Without You put them on the map in a way few gospel artists had managed before. But not everyone was thrilled. Some gospel purists, and possibly even certain family members, felt they were stepping too far into the mainstream. Rumors swirled that BeBe and CeCe's crossover success stirred up some jealousy and disapproval within the Winans circle. And let's be real, when your entire family is made up of gospel stars, things are bound to get competitive. As the 90s rolled on, BeBe and CeCe started to drift apart. While they never publicly aired each other out, the writing was on the wall. BeBe was exploring R&B and even working with artists outside the gospel world, while CeCe was leaning more into traditional gospel and building a massive solo career. Their paths were splitting, and it wasn't just about music, it was personal too. You grow, you change, and sometimes you need to step away to figure out who you are outside of what people expect you to be. CeCe once said about their separation, and she wasn't wrong. Both she and BeBe were dealing with the weight of family expectations, personal ambitions, and the pressure of being one of gospel's most successful duos. Something had to give. BeBe, on the other hand, had his own take. People like to make things deeper than they are. CeCe and I love each other, but we had different visions for our music and our careers, he explained in an interview. Fair enough. But fans couldn't help but notice the tension that had been bubbling under the surface for years. And then there's the family factor. The Winans are tight-knit, but let's not pretend sibling rivalry doesn't exist. When two family members become breakout stars, it can ruffle feathers. Some believe that BeBe and CeCe's massive success outside the traditional gospel space may have rubbed certain relatives the wrong way. After all, gospel is about faith, but the music industry, that's about business. By the late 90s, it was clear. BeBe and CeCe were done as a duo. They each went on to have successful solo careers, but that unique spark they had together, it was never quite the same. They've reunited a few times over the years, proving that while their careers took separate paths, their bond as siblings remained intact. So was it a full-blown family feud? Not exactly. But let's just say, the Winans family gatherings probably had a few awkward moments. At the end of the day, BeBe and CeCe made history together, and whether or not the family drama played a role, their legacy in gospel and R&B is undeniable. And that, folks, is the real story behind their split. The drama that followed. The Winans family is gospel royalty, but even the most legendary families have their fair share of drama. Fans know BeBe and CeCe Winans as the sibling duo who blended gospel and R&B in a way that resonated far beyond church walls. However, behind those powerful harmonies, tensions within the Winans family played a role in BeBe and CeCe's decision to part ways. The Winans name has been a cornerstone of gospel music for decades, with nearly every member of the family making their mark. From the original Winans quartet, Marvin, Carvin, Michael, and Ronald, to younger generations like Mario Winans, musical success runs deep. But with a big family comes big personalities, and not everyone saw eye to eye. While the Winans have always maintained a public image of unity, behind the scenes, there were rivalries, creative differences, and family politics. BeBe and CeCe, despite their success, weren't immune to this. BeBe and CeCe became household names in the 1980s and 90s with hits like Addictive Love and Lost Without You. Unlike their brothers who performed as the Winans, they took a different approach, mixing gospel with R&B in a way that was more mainstream. That success didn't sit well with everyone. Some in the gospel community, and possibly even within their own family, felt they were straying too far from tradition. Their blend of gospel and secular sounds raised eyebrows, especially as they started to dominate charts outside of the Christian music space. By the late 90s, things started to shift. Their collaborations became less frequent, and eventually they went their separate ways. While they never openly trashed each other, it was clear that tensions had built up. CeCe was becoming a gospel star in her own right, and BeBe was pushing further into R&B. That musical divide, along with the weight of family expectations, made their split inevitable. Fans may not have seen a public feud, but the distance between them spoke volumes. After more than a decade apart, BeBe and CeCe shocked fans in 2009 when they reunited for the album Still. It was their first project together in 15 years, proving that despite whatever had happened, their chemistry was still intact. The album featured songs like Close to You and Grace, reminding everyone why they had been such a powerhouse duo in the first place. When asked about their reunion, BeBe made it clear that any past drama was water under the bridge. CeCe and I have always been family first. Music is what we do, but love is who we are. CeCe echoed that sentiment, adding, "Sometimes you just need space, but at the end of the day, we'll always be BeBe and CeCe." Their reunion wasn't just about nostalgia, it was a moment of healing. While they didn't go into specifics, it was obvious that whatever had caused the split wasn't as important as the bond they shared. CeCe has become one of gospel music's most influential figures. With multiple Grammy Awards, chart-topping albums, and a thriving ministry, she's made an impact far beyond music. She also runs Pure Springs Gospel, her own record label, and continues to inspire through speaking engagements and worship events. BeBe, meanwhile, has kept busy with music, acting, and writing. He's been involved in stage productions, penned a book, and remains active in gospel, though he still explores different musical styles. While they no longer perform together full-time, their legacy as one of gospel's greatest duos is secure. Fans still hope for another reunion, but even if that doesn't happen, their influence is undeniable. Whether together or apart, the Winans name remains a force in gospel music. What do you think? Will the Winans continue their gospel legacy for generations to come? Or are we witnessing the end of an era because of their rift? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to check out these other videos we've selected just for you. Catch you in the next one.